Mr. Speaker, sir, I thank you. I rise to make my contributions to the amendments of Prevention and Control, the Cancer Prevention and Control Amendment Bill 2019. Mr. Speaker, sir, as I sat here, I listened to the distinguished senator from Kisii talking about pain. And today my submissions are going to be completely unorthodox, because I think some of the problems that we cause ourselves in this country is where we try to stay away from what we were brought up doing and adopting new technologies and new practices. Mr. Speaker, sir, as a boy, young boy growing up, I used to, every day, I would consume something called seketek in Maasai, which are traditional herbs. And whenever we are sick, we would grind the herbs. I don't know what their scientific name is called, but we'd grind them and mix with milk and drink. And in most cases, when you are sick, you'd be able to get better. Mr. Speaker, sir, there's a very good friend of ours nowadays called Google. And I would challenge every member in this House to spend some time and look at some of the things which are considered evil in this society or uncouth. One in particular is medical marijuana. Mr. Speaker, sir, when you look at countries in the West, some countries in the U.S., or some states in the U.S., countries in Europe, have now accepted that not a lot of things are known about marijuana. Mr. Speaker, sir, in this country, we have made sure that when you're caught with marijuana, which is known scientifically as something that it's a herb that can be used to reduce pain. When the distinguished senator from Kisii was talking about pain, if you take a minute and look at Google, you'll find that a lot of people in a lot of states in the U.S. are using medical marijuana to reduce the pain, which is associated to the treatment of cancer. I think it's about time. And I would like to request the sponsor of this bill to think about incorporating a few things, which in this country, depending on which side you fall in religiously, you might consider them to be evil. To think about looking and maybe incorporating an element where this country can start doing more research on medical marijuana. There are people who have given testimonies that once they're in pain, they control it with marijuana. Mr. Speaker, sir, I've visited farms in the United States where they produce marijuana, and most of their clients are people who have been diagnosed with cancer. And their testimonies. So I think it is about time that we start really going away from the norm and looking at ways that we can be able to help. The other senators who spoke earlier on, Mr. Speaker, sir, well, expressing their condolences to the two good leaders that we've lost, spoke about the challenges that we face in this country, where when they go and see and look at this issue of chemotherapy or cancer as it is, they look at it as if it is really an enterprise. The distinguished senator from Makueni gave a statement about how a doctor cured many people using traditional herbs away from marijuana, but he's afraid of coming out and saying, this is really what we need to do, because it's a business enterprise. When I was sitting here, Mr. Speaker, sir, I was listening to the distinguished senator from Kilifi telling me how when he went to visit our late brother senator, former senator from Migori, how he saw the way the drugs had consumed his body from a person who was about 180 pounds to a person who ended up dying when he was about 60 pounds. We really need to think beyond just accepting all these things. When you go, Mr. Speaker, sir, to our farms in the traditional areas or rural areas, you'll find a lot of chemicals being used, either to preserve food. Something which I consider completely evil is where people are trying to preserve milk, and they use the same chemicals which are used to preserve bodies so that they can be able to preserve them. And they are just selling them. They are selling the milk. They keep it for days. Then you ask yourself, who is killing who? We are killing ourselves, Mr. Speaker, sir. This country, we as leaders, have completely forgotten our roles as people who are supposed to be representing people and supporting entities that lower standards. The number of fertilizers, chemicals which are imported into this country depend mostly, Mr. Speaker, sir, on how much they can, get in profit, not on standards. The carcinogenics that the distinguished senator from Kisii spoke about. These things that cause, no one really look into it. One of them, Mr. Speaker, sir, which is very dangerous and we need to think about it, and this is the opportunity, Dr. Ali, for us to be able to now amend this law and try to look at the whole broad picture, or rather the entire spectrum, on everything, including the furniture that we use in our homes. Mr. Speaker, sir, there are formaldehydes, which are found in plywoods. These are chemicals which are used to fix plywoods. So you go into a nice home, you see a beautiful piece of furniture, it is made, and all these chemicals have been put there to make it look neat. But it does cause cancer. Mr. Speaker, sir, when you talk about all these common carcinogenics that the distinguished senator was talking about, you'll be surprised to hear that some of them even include potato crisps, or even when we make food, and maybe if it is the food which are preserved, or even bread, Mr. Speaker, sir, if you go and you toast it and it is completely brown and you eat it, it may end up causing all this. So I think what we have an opportunity, Mr. Speaker, sir, now to try and raise standards of things which are imported into this country, chemicals which are used to preserve. One of them, Mr. Speaker, sir, which our people are completely applying into the ones that you use to preserve the maize, Mr. Speaker, sir, in those traditional or even just storage. Once you pour the chemicals to preserve, to try and kill the insects, they're only supposed to last there for 3 months. But after 3 months, Mr. Speaker, sir, instead of us taking the maize outside and aerating, you take the maize, you add more of that substance for preserving, and then you take it and you grind it and you continue consuming. So a lot of our people, Mr. Speaker, sir, are dying because of negligence. During the campaigns, Mr. Speaker, sir, I went to a place called Mburbutia in Loita, in Narok South. And I heard that the killer there, every single day, you'll hear a home where somebody has died of cancer. Someone has died of cancer. You'll hear that someone says, I just got a small, what do you call it? Cut, and it has never healed. And when you think about it, Mr. Speaker, sir, the kind of treatment that these people get, or the kind of food that they are exposed to buy, no clean water, the food comes, it stays on the road for 3 or 4 days, they end up consuming it. Really, it's about time, Mr. Speaker, sir, that if we really care about our population as Kenyans, we should not be looking at our people dying. You'd rather even make a decision and say, I'm not going to subject my relative to go through this chemotherapy. We should just allow the life machines to be removed for those who can afford. Those who cannot afford, Mr. Speaker, sir, will go into a hospital, they are given medicine, they continue just taking the medicine. Let us explore. There's nothing evil in us looking at medical marijuana if it can ease the pain. There's nothing evil in us saying, let us now put so much money into this universal health care, but looks into herbs. These herbs. There's nothing wrong, Mr. Speaker, sir, in us talking to our citizens and asking them to go back organic. Mr. Speaker, sir, the bananas that come from your county, maybe Kirinyaga or Tharaka Nithi, when they are brought to Nairobi, they are green. And overnight, they have ripened up, and you can now go and eat them. He has something to say that can help put into this bill so that we just don't invest on technology. Because what we are doing, once we invest so much in technology, in all those machines, we are just machines having work rather than preventing it. We can't allow that to continue, Mr. Speaker, sir. This is a country that we care about, and if God has been able to bless us, put us into this house, give us good health care that can be able to take care of us, then it's about time that we take care about those people who cannot afford. Mr. Speaker, sir, I thank you.